But the other nice thing about simple writing is that it puts more weight on the wordplay. Like, I set up for a rhyme at the end, but then made it fall flat on purpose. It helps bring out the feeling in the last line.
So you did. I guess more went into it than I realized.
That's what it means to be a pro. I'm glad you learned something, you noob scrub. Didn't expect that from the youngest one here, did you?
Yeah, guess not. I decide to humor her with the last comment. I don't really care how old everyone is, but if Natsuki is feeling proud, that I won't take that away from her. Alright. Yuri. As Yuri reads the poem, I notice her eyes lighten. Exceptional. What's that? Huh? Did I say that out loud? Yuri first covers her mouth, but then ends up covering her whole face. He's going to hate me. You really didn't do anything wrong, Yuri. I guess you're right. What am I getting so nervous for? Yuri takes a breath. So, what kind of writing experience do you have? Your use of imagery and metaphors indicates you've written a lot of poetry before. Really? Wow, that's a huge compliment coming from you. This is actually my first time, really. Huh? Yuri stares at me blankly, then looks at my poem again. Well, I know that. I just meant, Yuri trails off, unable to find an excuse. She traces her finger along the words in the poem, as if breaking it down more thoroughly. Yeah, okay. This is the reason I was able to tell. It's just that there are specific writing habits that are usually typical of new writers. And having been through that myself, I've kind of learned to pick up on them. I think the most noticeable thing I recognize in new writers is that they try to make their style very deliberate. In other words, they tend to pick a writing style separate from the topic matter, and they form-fit the two together. The end result is that both the style and the expressiveness are weakened. Once Yuri finds her train of thought, it's as if her demeanor totally changes. Her stammering is completely gone, and she sounds like an expert. Of course, that's not something you can be blamed for. There's so many different skills and techniques that go into writing even a simple poem. Not just finding them and building them, but getting them to work together is probably the most challenging part. It might take you some time, but it all comes with practice and learning by example and trying new things. I also hope that everyone else in the club gives you valuable feedback. Natsuki can be a little biased, though. Biased how? Well, never mind. I shouldn't be talking about people like that. Sorry. It's fine. I'm not sure if Yuri is apologizing to herself, to me, or to Natsuki. Do you mind if I read your poem now? Please do. I'd love to share my thought processes behind it. Yuri smiles dreamily, as if that's a rare opportunity for her, which itself is kind of funny. After all, isn't this supposed to be a literature club? Ghost under the light. Ghost under the light. The tendrils of my hair illuminate beneath the amber glow. Bathing. It must be this one, the last remaining streetlight to have withstood the test of time, the last yet to be replaced by the sickening blue-green hue of the future. I bathe, calm, breathing air of the present but living in the past. The light flickers. I flicker back. I'm sorry, I have such terrible handwriting. What? I wasn't thinking that at all. But it took you a long time to read. Well, I just don't read script very often. 'Cause I'm a shitty millennial. I actually think your handwriting is pretty. Huh? That's a relief. Also, I liked the poem. Even though it's short, it was really descriptive. It wasn't too short. I usually write longer poems. Not at all. I'm really glad you like it. I'll be honest. Since it's our first time sharing, I wanted to write something a little more mild. Something easy to digest, I suppose. Are you into ghosts, Ryuri? Actually, the story isn't about a ghost at all, Ryuji. Really? I must have totally missed the point because, again, unwashed plebe. Well, I suppose you did only glance over it after all. But remember that poets often express their own thoughts, feelings, and experiences in their works. They usually do more than tell a simple story or paint a picture. In this case, perhaps the subject of the poem is only being symbolically compared to a ghost, lingering in her last remaining place of comfort, unable to let go of the past, and soon to be left with nothing. That's a lot more solemn putting it that way. I hadn't even thought of that. That's impressive. Huh? It's nothing, really. Yours was impressive, too, so... Nah. If anything, I could probably learn a thing or two from you. You think so? Yeah, of course. I was really nervous about doing all this, but in the end, I enjoyed it. I'm going to keep doing my best for you, Ryuji. Me too.
Now, Monika.
Hi, Ryuji. Having a good time so far? Yeah. Good. Glad to hear it. By the way, since you're new and everything, if you ever have any suggestions for the club, like new activities or things we can do better, I'm always listening. Always listening. Don't be afraid to bring things up, okay? All right, I'll keep that in mind. Of course, I'll be afraid to bring things up. I'm much better off just going with the flow until I'm more settled in. Anyway, want to share your poem with me? It's kind of embarrassing, but I guess I have to. Don't worry, Ryuji. We're all a little embarrassed today, you know? But it's that sort of barrier that we'll all learn to get past soon. Well, that's true. I hand Monika my poem. Great job, Ryuji. I was going ooh in my head while reading it. It's really metaphorical. I'm not sure why, but I didn't expect you to go for something so deep. I guess I underestimated you. It's easiest for me to keep everyone's expectations low. That way it always counts when I put in some effort. That's not very fair. But I guess it worked anyway. But I'll kill you in your sleep if you ever try that again. You know what? That Yuri likes this kind of writing, right? Writing that's full of imagery and symbolism. Unlike Sayori, who likes using simple and direct words to describe happiness and sadness. Yuri likes it when readers are left to derive their own meaning out of it. It's very challenging to write like that effectively, both allowing people to get something out of it just by feel or letting them deeply analyze all of the nuances. It can take years of practice, which I'm assuming Yuri has at this point. I've never really asked, though. I'm sure I'm nowhere near her level yet. Don't worry so much about that. You do your own thing. Just keep exploring and learn by trying new things. I'm sure I'll end up trying different things a lot. Could take a while before I feel comfortable doing this. That's okay. I'd love to see you try new things. That's the best way to find the kind of style that suits you. Everyone else might be a little biased toward their own kinds of styles, but I'll always help you find what suits you the most. So don't force yourself to write the way everyone else wants you to write. It's not like you have to worry about impressing them or anything. Anyway, do you want to read my poem now? Don't worry, I'm not very good. You sound pretty confident for someone who claims to not be very good. Well, that's because I have to sound confident because I'm a computer program. That doesn't mean I always feel that way, you know? I see. Well, let's read it now then. Hole in wall. It couldn't have been me. See the direction that spackle protrudes? A noisy neighbor, an angry boyfriend? I'll never know. I wasn't home. I peer inside for a clue. No, I can't see. I reel, blind, like a film left out in the sun. But it's too late. My retina's already scorched with a permanent copy of the meaningless image. It's just a little hole. It wasn't too bright. It was too deep, stretching forever into everything. A hole of infinite choices. I realize now that I wasn't looking in. I was looking out, and he, on the other side, was looking in. So, what do you think? It's very freeform, if that's what you want to call it. Sorry, I'm not really the right person to ask for feedback. That's okay. Yeah, that kind of style of that kind of style has gotten pretty popular nowadays. That is, a lot of poems have been putting emphasis on the timing between words and lines. When performed out loud, it can be really powerful. What was the inspiration behind this one? Well, I'm not sure if I know how to put it. I guess you could say that I had some kind of epiphany recently. It's been influencing my poems a bit. An epiphany? Yeah, something like that. I'm kind of nervous to talk about deep stuff like that because it's kind of coming on strongly. Maybe after everyone is better friends with each other. Anyway, here's Monica's writing tip of the day. Sometimes when you're writing a poem or a story, your brain gets too fixated on a specific point. If you try so hard to make it perfect, then you'll never make any progress. Just force yourself to get something down on the paper and tidy it up later. Another way to think about it is this. If you keep your pen in the same spot for too long, you'll just get a big dark puddle of ink. So just move your hand and go with the flow. That's my advice for the day. Thanks for listening. This is NPR. Phew. I guess that's everyone. I glance around the room. That was a little more stressful than I anticipated. It's as if everyone is judging me for my mediocre writing abilities. Even if they're just being nice, there's no way my poems can stand up to theirs. This is a literature club, after all. I sigh. I guess that's what I ended up getting myself into. Across the room, Sayori and Monica are happily chatting. My eyes land on Yuri and Natsuki. They gingerly exchange sheets of paper, sharing their respective poems. As they read in tandem, I watch their expressions change. Natsuki's eyebrows furrow in frustration. Meanwhile, Yuri smiles sadly.
What's with this language?
Did you say something?
Oh, it's nothing.
Natsuki dismissively returns the poem to the desk with one hand.
I guess you could say it's fancy.
Thanks. Yours is cute.
Cute? Did you completely miss the symbolism or something? It's clearly about the feeling of giving up. How can that be cute?
I know that. I just meant the language, I guess. I was trying to say something nice.
You mean you had to try that hard to come up with something nice to say, you bitch? Thanks, but it didn't really come out nice at all.
Well, I do have a couple of suggestions.
If I was looking for suggestions, I would have asked somebody who actually liked it. Which people did, by the way. Sayori liked it, and Ryuji too. So based on that, I'll gladly give you some suggestions of my own. First of all...
Excuse me. I appreciate the offer, but I've spent a long time establishing my writing style. I don't expect to change it anytime soon, unless of course I come across something particularly inspiring, which I haven't yet. And Ryuji liked my poem too, you know? He even told me he was impressed by it. Natsuki suddenly steps up.
Oh? I didn't realize you were so invested in trying to impress our new member, Yuri.
That's not what you're just... Yuri stands up as well. Maybe you're just jealous that Ryuji appreciates my advice more than he appreciated yours.
Huh? And how do you know he didn't appreciate my advice more? Are you that full of yourself?
No. If I was full of myself, I would deliberately go out of my way to make everything I do overly cutesy. Is everyone okay?
Well, you know what, bitch? I was the one whose tits magically grew a size bigger as soon as Ryuji started showing up. You stuff in that bra.